thank you everyone so much for being here. My name's Philip Hasma. I'm the founder of the DIY Agent, and I also run a marketing company called Ashes Marketing that focuses on helping real estate agents. And this is the first training that I'm doing here, and I thought I'd cover a topic that I really enjoy, which is search engine optimization. And the idea of this training is just to give you a general overview of SEO. So I'm not going to go too deep into the very nitty gritty of it. It's just to give you an idea so that you can start, if you want to start doing some things on yourself or by yourself, you can do that. If you're working with someone else, if you're looking to hire a company, you just have a better understanding of what you should be looking for, and you have a better, the way you can talk. And then down the road, so in the coming weeks and months, I'll kind of get into more specific stuff like about keyword research or link building, that kind of stuff. So I kind of mentioned before, at the end, there will be an opportunity for questions. So you can just chat your questions. So if you just want to save those, make a note of them, and I will get to them at the end. So let's just jump right into it. So first, we have to start off with the very basic question: what is SEO, short for search engine optimization? So it's the practice of optimizing your website. So doing certain things to your website or your pages to improve its ranking in the search engine result page, which I will show you shortly. By making your website more visible and easy for search engines to understand, you can then attract more quality traffic to your website, which will then hopefully turn into leads, which will then in turn hopefully turn into more deals. So here is a video of so I typed in here in Google, homes for sale in Fort Worth, Texas. And then you can see at the top, there is the sponsored ads. So these are people running Google ads, which I know many of you are doing. And then below that is the organic search results. So what I just highlighted there. So those people have done certain things, which we're going to talk about today, to improve their chances to rank on the first page. They're not paying to be there. Obviously, they've done things, they've spent time to rank in that position, but every time someone clicks, they're not paying for it, unlike pay-per-click, where of course they would pay for it. And now they're on the first page of Google. There is kind of like a joke among digital marketers or SEO specialists. They say, where's the best place to hide a dead body? And they say on page 2 of Google. Reason being is because nobody goes to page 2. So you want to be on page 1. But that being said, Google is actually changing some things around where instead of page 1, 2, 3, 4, they are actually going to switch it to a continuous scroll. So you're not going to have pages anymore. It's just going to keep going down and down and down and filling in with more information. So this could actually change things for those people who were on page 2, who never ever got traffic. They may start getting some more traffic. So that'll be interesting when that starts being implemented. So now we kind of know a little bit about what SEO is. So why is it important for you as a real estate agent? So it's important because you want to have an online presence to attract potential clients, right? So you probably already have social media, or Google Business, but you want to take up as much space on the internet as you can to attract more clients. And so by optimizing your website for search engines, you can, kind of what I mentioned, increase your visibility so you can be seen in more places. You can then, if you're seen in more places, you can hopefully drive more traffic to your website. So people going to your blogs or your area pages or your homepage. And then if your website is set up correctly, so if you have lead capture in place, you have good contact forms, you have good call to actions, your website looks professional, hopefully that traffic will turn into leads. And then with the right follow-up system, the idea is then those leads will turn into more closing, which is ultimately what we're kind of all after here. So a few benefits of SEO or search engine optimization. So one of the big things of SEO, and I'm kind of comparing this to pay-per-click, but it can really build trust right away. So I've spoken with a lot of clients who have done a lot of pay-per-click. They do a lot of SEO and they get a lot of organic traffic or organic leads. And they often will tell me that the organic leads are higher quality than the pay-per-click ads. And I think one of the reasons for that is because if you're ranking at the top of Google, so below the sponsored ads, but at the top of the organic, I think people like, obviously you're the best if you're there, right, for that specific keywords. So I think people know that as well. So if you're ranking at the top of Google, I think people are like, okay, well, this person is very trustworthy, or else Google wouldn't rank them that high. So therefore, they already have that trust when they go to your website. Versus when I think people do click on sponsored ads, I think there's kind of like that salesy tactic. Obviously, pay-per-click works really well, but organic, again, kind of has that trust already built into it. The benefit of SEO, unlike Facebook ads or pay-per-click, is you don't have to keep paying. So with pay-per-click and Facebook ads, and again, I'm not bashing these. I think they're very, very good tactics, but the benefit of SEO is you don't have to keep paying after you're in a position where you're getting rankings, you're getting traffic, right? So with pay-per-click, if you stop paying, you're not going to get any more leads, right? You're not going to get any more traffic. Your ad disappears. Whereas with SEO, you could build it up for a year or 2 years, get a lot of traffic. You could then kind of scale back or stop completely. You're still going to get traffic. You're still going to get leads. It's going to take a while for someone to get you out of that position. So that's a really big benefit. You're almost building like an asset in a way. And then along with that is the huge ROI potential. So we have a client at Asterisk that we've been dealing with for a few years now. And if you take his total investment on SEO, and then his number of leads, break it down to a cost per lead, it's like $4 a lead, which is really, really low. And each month that kind of gets lower and lower. Soon it'll be $3 and $2. And that's just the huge ROI potential. And then those leads, of course, should or turn into closings with the proper follow-up. Now, here are some of the cons in quotation of SEO, and I'll kind of touch on this of why I put it in quotations. But so it could take months or years to rank on the first page of Google for a keyword. So Ahrefs, which is a very, very popular SEO software, did a study, and they say on average it takes 1 year to rank for a specific keyword. So of course, that's on average, different cases. Some people can rank quicker, some people it takes longer, but that just kind of gives you an idea of how long it can rank. There is potentially a large investment that you have to do either with your time or with your money to try to start ranking. It's not an overnight success kind of thing. It does take a lot of work. And then I've heard this argument before that Google or other search engines, really it's only Google, they're always changing their algorithm. So you work on it, change the algorithm, and then all your work is like you lose your rankings, which is rarely the case. So for the first point, it can take months and years to rank. Yes, that's true. But that also means that once you're in that first page, say your top 3, top 5, it can be difficult for other people to dislodge you, right? That's kind of what I talked about before, where you keep getting that traffic and that leads over time. So once you're there, you're there for a while. Obviously, over time, if you don't do anything, people can outrank you, which will happen, but typically that happens over a long period of time. In terms of a large investment, so that actually, the thing about SEO again is because it's a large investment, not a lot of people do it, right? They don't want to either invest that time or invest that money. So it shrinks the pool of people you're competing with. Whereas pay-per-click, everybody is doing pay-per-click because it's very easy, it's very quick. So that could be seen, the large investment, as more of a pro too, depending on how you look at it. And then finally, with Google changing their algorithm. So yeah, they do change it. But if you focus on white hat SEO versus black hat, which I'll describe in a second, then you don't really have to worry about that. So white hat is focusing on things that Google likes. So good content, good UX, page loads time, that kind of stuff. Whereas black label is like spammy techniques. So stuffing your page with keywords or bad backlinks or anything like that. So if you just focus on the core of good content, good design, then the algorithm changes. Yes, they may fluctuate some of your rankings and traffic, but at the end of the day, it's not a reason not to do SEO. So now, how does Google rank pages, right? So we know what SEO is, we know it's important, but how does Google actually determine what's number 2, what's number 3, what's number 4, so on and so forth? So there's a ton that goes into this algorithm, but here are some of the core things. So backlinks. So that is when you get a link from other website and refers back to your website. So that's one of the core ranking things. So how relevant is your website to the search query, right? So in that other example where I typed in homes for sale in Fort Worth, Texas, is your page relevant for that keyword? Do you have different things on your page that it would make me want to stay, make me want to read, or perform an action? How fresh is the website? So this is somewhat search query dependent, because there are certain queries there. It can bring up a very old website if it's very well done, but you still want to keep your website, your content fairly fresh. So HTTPS, so this is securing your website. So you want to have a secure website. I'll touch on this in a couple slides. And then page speed. Is your page load time very slow? Is it 4, 5, 6 plus seconds? That is going to hurt your ranking. So you want to have a quick load time, which is just a better overall experience. So one of the core things in SEO is keywords. This is one of the foundations of search engine optimization. So a keyword, so these are ideas or topics that define what your content or what your page is about. So and then in terms of SEO, these are the words and phrases that people enter into Google. So they're called search queries. So again, what I typed in homes for sale in Fort Worth, Texas, those are like the keywords. Those are the keywords those pages were trying to target. So with keywords, one of my major tips, especially for real estate agents, this is different for other people, but in real estate, is to focus on long tail keywords. So these are keywords that are more descriptive, they're more exact. They are typically people who are farther along the funnel. So here are some examples of that. So 1 acreage home for sale in Fort Worth. So this is pretty specific, right? It's 1 acreage home. So homes for sale in Fort Worth, if you try to rank for that, or any city really, unless it's very, very small, it's going to be really, really hard. You're competing with Zillow and Redfin and Realtor and all of these huge portal websites that have millions and millions to spend. So they put a lot of money into those keywords because they get the biggest traffic, right? Whereas where agents can compete for the most part, obviously there's exceptions, but these long tail keywords, these very specific things that Redfin, Realtor, they don't care as much as about because there's lower search volume there. But if you have a bunch of these ranking, then you can do really well. Another example, and this one's even more specific, but new homes for sale in Fort Worth under 600,000. So that's really specific. And these are all these are keywords that we've seen people rank, we've helped people rank for, and these are the ones we go after. We're not going after homes for sale in Fort Worth. A blog example is 10 reasons to live in downtown Fort Worth. Now, blogs are a little bit different. So you could actually go after the phrase 10 reasons to live in Fort Worth and do really well. And I'll touch on that in a second about blogs versus content. And just to note that for our full DIY members, we do have a section in the SEO training. We have a long list of long tail keywords. So you don't just have to kind of think of them. We actually provide them for you. We have templates. So that's in the SEO training section within the community. So if you kind of want to start looking up some keywords, you want to do some keyword research, you want to figure out volume, competition, so on and so forth, here are some free tools. So there's Word Tracker. Just with these two, so with Word Tracker and then Neil Patel, Ubersuggest, they do have limits. They have daily limits. So you'll only be able to do like 10 search queries, whereas this third tool is a free tool that has no limits. The only thing is you have to create a Google Ads account. But this is the best tool, in my opinion. It gets data right from the source, which is Google, because it's a Google product. There's so much information. It's really, really good for finding out. Like you could type in neighborhoods in Fort Worth, and then it's going to bring up specific neighborhoods with the most search volume, because then you could write a blog about that specific one. And again, for our full members, we actually have training about how to use that tool. We have a video, a step-by-step guide on how to use it. So you can head on over to the SEO section afterwards if you want to check that one out. So now that we have keywords, now say we want to optimize our page for that keyword. So on-page optimization is the technique used to improve the ranking of a website or a page by making it more SEO friendly. And we can do that by adding things like title tags, making sure it has the right keyword, it's descriptive, meta description, so how we describe our page. And I'll show examples of these afterwards. So header tags, so the H1, H2, H3 throughout our content, the actual content, what are we writing about, how long is it, so on and so forth. And then internal linking, so links within that page to other pages of our website to help the crawl bots. So what is a title tag, or what's an example? So this I took from the search engine result page, so similar to that example I showed you. So this is the title tag. So very important, because this tells Google exactly what your page is about. So if I'm trying to rank for 1 acreage home or 1 acre home for sale in Fort Worth, that's what I want to put in, similar to this. Meta description. So this again shows up in the Google search results page, and this is what's underneath it. So it gives a little more descriptive of that page. Again, you want to mention your keyword. You want to try to convince people to then click on your page, right? The more relevant it is to the searcher, the more likely someone is going to click on that page. So that's your meta description. Then we have our header tags, and this is within the content of the page. So here, I believe this one is our H1. So that's basically, it's, if you think of a newspaper article, this is like your big header, what the news article is about. And then underneath that, you may have subheaders, and those are like our H2s and our H3s. And each one typically has the keyword in it or some kind of variation of it. So we have our H1 down here, and then we have our H2 up there. So those are our header tags, and we want to have those in place. So then the actual content. So here we have another header or a title, and then within the content, just naturally, we're going to have our keywords show up. We don't want to try to like stuff it, right? We don't want to just force that keyword in there. That's not going to do anything. We want to make it sound natural. Naturally, it's just going to flow in there multiple times throughout our content. And then internal linking. So this is where we link within our content to other pages of Google. So those are going to help those other pages. It's also a better UX user experience if someone can click on a link. So say you see Westover Hills, you want to click on that to learn more about it. So these are links within that page. So that's another component of on-page optimization. So that's kind of like the on page. And again, this is general. There's more specifics we could get into, but for the sake of this seminar, we're just kind of staying pretty broad. So that's on page, and now off page. And this refers to the tactics outside of our website. So these are things like link building. We don't see that on our website. It's on someone else's website who links back to ours. It's guest posting, which is a link building strategy. It's social media marketing, where we have links, and then there's more. But it's things you don't necessarily see on your website, but it's done on other aspects of the internet that will improve your website. One of the largest components of this is link building or backlinks. So again, this is when we get a link from another website that links to your website. It's which I just went through there. And so this can be done through, there's all different ways of link building. There's some really, really creative ways out there, but here are some of the more popular ways. So guest blogging is probably one of the most popular ones. So that's where you go and find a website within your niche, right? You want it to be relevant. So like it wouldn't make sense for me to guest blog on a website about animals if I'm a real estate agent. Just there's no correlation there. So you want to find a website about like home staging, interior design, a real estate blog, those kind of things. So it's then writing a blog on their website. Say it's a home decorator and you do 10 ideas to decorate your home or something like that. And then within that blog, at the end, at the beginning, in the middle, you link back to a page on your website. So that's how you acquire a backlink. Another one, and this is like local citations, is submitting articles or directories to include a link back to your website. So a local citation is like where you see your name, address, and phone number. Oftentimes, you'll also get a link back to your website. So that's another popular way. Another way people do these link building is through sponsoring a local event or a charity or anything like that. Oftentimes, as a business or as a real estate agent, you'll be able to get a link back to your website. So that's another way you can get one. And a way that we really like doing it is using Haro. So this is a short for Help a Reporter Out. It's a free thing you can sign up for. It'll send you emails daily. And it's basically reporters who work for online websites who write articles and they need quotes. So they could say, hey, I'm looking for a real estate agent to get a quote on what the housing market will be like in 2023. And then you could submit an answer. And then if they like your answer, they'll take it. They'll often give you a link back to your website. And this is how we've gotten links through websites like USA Today, Yahoo, MSN, really, really big links in which Haro is really the only way to get those. So that's a great way to get quality backlinks. So another ranking factor, if you remember one of the first slides, is HTTPS. And this is, most of you have this, so I'm going to mention it, but I wouldn't quickly check if you have it, which is, do you have a padlock? And so it's right here if you look at your website. So that means it's HTTPS secured, which is a ranking factor. So if you don't have that, you typically can just, if you're with Real Geek, Sierra, Chime, any of those big providers, you can just ask them. They usually comes already. If you're a WordPress, you can ask your hosts, but it just makes sure that your website is secured so that data is being transferred in a secure way. And then page speed is another fairly large component. So how quickly does your page load? So often recommended to have a page load in 3 seconds or less. So it just makes sense, right? If you go to a page, it takes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds to load, you're probably going to bounce, right? It's not worth it, especially nowadays with attention spans. So you want it to load fairly quickly. And how you can determine that is these free tools. So there is tools.pingdom.com. And just so you're all aware, I can send this slide deck afterwards along with the recording so that you can get these resources after. But that's a really good one. And then GT metrics. And that's going to tell you your load time. And then it's also going to tell you specific things to do to improve that load time. And here are kind of like the most popular ways. So your host. So again, if you're using a platform like Real Geeks or Chime or Sierra, you don't have control over that. They've got good hosts, so that's not something you have to worry about. But if you're with WordPress, you want to make sure you're with a quality host because that can impact the load time, the server they use. This one is probably one of the most popular ways we see pages affect load time is files. So when you're doing a blog or a page, you upload an image and it's like several megabytes or a big video. So you always want to make sure you compress those to make them as small as possible. So if you just go online and look up compress files, compress images, you'll find free tools, but you want to make those fairly small. Using a lot of scripts or poorly optimized ones, this is more like a developer thing, but if you use Pingdom or GT metrics and you see this in there, then maybe you should talk to your developer and see if there's something that can be improved there. And then along with scripts is in external scripts. And this is when you're pulling like JavaScript from another source. And this is one of the downsides of platforms like Real Geeks, Sierra, or Chime, is it could potentially slow down your website with all of this custom design. Because they don't have access to do all the changes, they have to bring it through external script. So not, of course, not all the time, right? It's you can still have a fairly fast website with nice looking custom website, but it could cause a slower load time. And then for people using WordPress, plugins, a lot of plugins will slow down your website. So here are a few tips for successful search engine optimization. So we already touched on this, but focusing on long tail keywords. So either through your content or through your blog, you really want to get specific so you give yourself a chance to rank. Blogs have the least competition and one of the highest traffic potential. So we have found that you can rank a lot easier for blogs than you can for area pages. And when I say area pages, I mean those pages like One Acreage Home for Sale in Fort Worth. We see that because those pages are very easy to create, whereas blogs typically take, like, you got to write a lot of content and there's not nearly as much competition. You're basically, because like realtor.com, Zillow, those kind of websites, they're not really producing local blogs about like neighborhoods or reasons to move to a city. They don't really play in that space too much. So you're really competing with just other local real estate agents and like moving companies. So you can have the chance to rank really well for those in a decent amount of time if you create a well-written blog that's optimized on page, maybe get a couple backlinks for it. And it can really bring leads too, right? So if you do a blog about 10 reasons to move to Fort Worth, or the best neighborhoods, or the guide to living in a specific neighborhood, they can be amazing ways at generating traffic and leads. This is something that, so links are still very important, but Google has said that they may be less important in the future. So it's just something more and less to keep in mind. Because at the end of the day too, it's like you really, really do want to focus on content, right? That's like one of the most important things. So down the road, it may change where links become a little bit less important. They'll always still be important, but it may be less. There's been articles about that. And just like most things in life, you want to take a holistic approach to your online presence, and that helps SEO, right? So you want to, if you're active on social media, you link back to your website. If you're active on Google Business, it can help your website. YouTube, you link back to your website. So all of these kind of things, it's just kind of like taking that holistic approach. Being in different areas will help your website and your rankings. And then you want to keep your website fresh and up to date. We kind of already talked about that, but you want to keep your blogs up to date. You want to keep your area pages, like things change, so you want to keep it fresh. So it's similar to, your website is similar to like a store, right? You want to change it every now and then, right? Different seasons, that kind of stuff. So you want to keep it fresh. You don't just want to set it and forget it, because that's not going to help anyone. And then you want to continue to learn, and you don't give up, right? Because it can take a while, but it's small steps over a long period of time can create huge growth. You want to continue learning, so you're here. So there's, if you're part of the DIY agent community, I often talk about SEO, and there's tools and resources in there. There's, of course, different websites like Search Engine Land or Search Engine Journal that you can follow. But just continue to learn and dive in, follow along if we have other training seminars. And then just know, yes, it can take a while, but it is definitely worth it once you get to a spot where you are ranking. There's just all of these benefits involved with that. So questions? All right, so I'm going to stop sharing this and jump on over. Okay, so that wraps up the seminar. Does anyone have any questions about anything talked about here, or anything about SEO that you'd like me to answer? Good question, Jesse. How often should you post a blog? So um, there's not like a specific answer in terms of you should post 10 times a month. Typically, the more the better, but I think I would go quality over quantity, and I would want to stay consistent. So I don't think you should just try to post blogs for the sake of having blogs, especially if you're doing it from an SEO point of view. I think you should focus on quality. So if that means only doing one a month, then that means only doing one a month. Obviously, if you're writing quality blogs and you can just pump those out, the more the better. But I think you first want to focus on quality over quantity, and then try to do something realistic that you can be consistent with. Hopefully that answers your question. Keep in mind, I am available after. Like, you can send me a DM or post in the Q&A section if you're a member, and I'm happy to answer any further questions. Another good question, is it 1,800 words for a blog? So for those of you who don't know, word count is typically a lot of what people go after. There's studies done saying like this is the optimal word count. It's ranged from 1,800 to 1,500. So we actually use a software called SEO Surfer, and what that does is look at the top competition and then gives us an idea of the average word count. So it's more keyword specific than just a set saying 1,800 words, right? Because for certain topics, that just doesn't make sense. The longer, the better, I would say, because typically that means it's higher quality. And that's tons of studies have been around that, where the longer articles do outperform like very short articles. Those are really good questions. Again, I will send these slides afterwards, so you can reference some of the resources within the seminar. If people do kind of want to learn more, if you're not a full member of the DIY Agent, you can go over to the DIYagents.com and learn more about the community. So the meta description, so it actually doesn't need to be that short. It can be really as long as possible, or sorry, not as long. It can be as long as you want, really. But there is like kind of that optimal length, which I believe is around 155 to 160. I don't know exact, but interesting enough. So a lot of times Google will actually just make up their own meta descriptions. So they'll just pull in what they think is the best content and put that in your Google SERP result page, which can be frustrating for some people, but it's hard to fight Google. So Terry, best content provider. So do you mean like people to write content? Is that what the question is? Maybe you can clarify in the chat. Okay. So there's different ways you can do it. So if you actually go into our freelance section, in the community, we have a content writer that we recommend using. She's written hundreds, thousands of real estate specific area pages, blogs, really, really knows her stuff. There's also, you can go different routes in terms of like trying to find someone local, a local writer. So use Kijiji or Facebook Marketplace to try to find someone local. Those are usually more beneficial in terms of they know the market, but then I guess on the downside, they may not know SEO as well. Whereas our freelancer knows SEO as well and use some of the tools I talked about. So those are a couple routes you can go. Any other questions before I sign off? Which time-wise, I think I'm doing pretty good. It's at 40 minutes right now, so time that quite nice. Okay, awesome. Well, I don't think there's any more questions. Thank you again. Oh, never mind. Sorry, one last question. Should your H1 tag be a keyword? So yes, you should have your keyword in there. In your H1, in your headers, in your alt tags, which again, that's kind of like a little more advanced SEO, which we'll get into in additional training additional training seminars. But yeah, keywords you definitely want to sprinkle throughout your page. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us on the first training session. This is recorded, so if you want to kind of look back at it, you'll be able to do that. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to answer them. But thanks again, and I hope you guys have a great day.